Graphical machine learning class. Of course, on Monday, we started probabilistic graphical model. Um, I introduced you to probabilistic graphical model. A simpler way to represent complicated multivariate probability distributions. Of course, today we're going to continue from where we stopped. This is the second material of the week. In the outline, I think I'm going to give you further explanation or illustration on conditional independence because the core, let me just say, the main idea behind probabilistic graphical model is conditional independence. So today, I'm going to give you more information about conditional independence. What do we mean when we say two events are conditional independent? And what do we also mean when we say two events are conditionally dependent? Then I'm going to walk you through application of probabilistic graphical model in real life. Today we're going to talk about how this can be used in diagnosis or disease diagnosis or like COVID-19 and the like, and how this can be used in supply chain, and how this can also be used in the criminal justice system. And of course, we're going to talk about there's a celebrated case in 1994 involving Simpson, okay, O.J. Simpson. So the idea of probabilistic graphical model can also be used here too. Okay, after that, I'm going to walk us through computational examples. All what I need from you is sit back, ask question where you get stuck. I'm here, to provide illustration. So let me start with this. And I need you to pay attention. I want to differentiate between conditional independence and conditional dependence. Please pay attention. When I talk about conditional independence, initially, relationship exists. I'm going to say that again. Initially, relationship exists between two variables. But when I observe the third variable, the relationship that exists between the two variables disappears. Which means the relationship that exists initially was nonsensical, was a spurious one, was a fake one. And when the relationship disappeared, then it means the arrow in the network actually going to disappear as well. And that very network is not going to be very simple. When a network is complicated, okay, it would be difficult to estimate parameters. And that is the reason why we're trying to see why we want to benefit from the idea of conditional independence. Where, okay, initially there's an arrow that connects two variables, but upon observing the third variable, the arrow is going to disappear. That's what we mean by conditional independence. But what do we mean by conditional dependence? What conditional dependence means is the opposite of what I just described. What conditional dependent means is that initially, relationship do not exist. But after observing the third variable, the relationship now exists. Okay? The relationship now exists. I'm actually going to show you how this play out in the criminal justice system, where evidence at times could create relationship or dependence between two conflicting or two competing explanations. Now that you understand the difference between the two, okay, and now I want to continue, I want to give an illustration. Let me give further illustration. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. I want to play further. I want to play, further illustration. I want to talk about conditional independent force. What do I mean by conditional independence? Relationship exists initially between two variables, but upon observing the third variable, that relationship disappears. I want to show you right now. I'm actually going to use Shane. I'm going to use Shane and fork to explain this. A fork, like the tool that you used to eat. But let me start with Shane. I need you to pay attention. Are you all ready? Okay, because this has to do with network. Now, if X, when I talk about Shane, if X give us Z, and Z give us Y. That's what we mean by Shane. You're going to, okay, it's not writing. I'm actually going to use something else. Let me see this. Okay. Like I said I want to use Shane. Is it writing now? Okay. I want to use Shane. Okay. What I want to use Shane to explain, I want to use Shane to explain conditional independence. If X determines Z and Z determines Y. Please pay attention. Okay? X determines Z. Okay? And Z determines Y. Let me just call X exercise. Please pay attention. I want to call X exercise. I want to call this guy fitness, maybe fitness level. Okay, fitness level. Okay, fitness level. Okay, and I actually want to call Y blood pressure. Please pay attention. Blood pressure. Initially, relationship exists between exercise and blood pressure, initially. But upon examining, if I examine fitness level, exercise does not give me extra information about blood pressure, which means a relationship between X and Y disappear when I observe Z. Does that make sense? This is what we call shade. Let me give you another example. If X is grandparents and Z is the parents and Y the children, okay? Without me observing the parents, relationship exists between grandparents and the children. Of course, the grandparents are doing a very great job. But if I have observed the parents, please pay attention. If I have observed the parents, okay, I do not expect the grandparent to give me extra information about the children. Does that make sense? Because the grandparent is going to say, oh, that is a parent, but I'm the parent of the parents. Does that make sense? So that is exactly what we mean by shade. This is an example. You're going to see this in your network. This is an example of conditional independence. I have another example scenario to describe conditional independence. Okay. Oh, those of you online, can you confirm if you're hearing me? Those of you online. I need somebody to talk if you're online hearing me. Thank you so much. Another example is fork. You know, why do I say fork? You know, when you take a look at fork that you used to eat food, you know, it's like we have multiple course, like if you look at the head of that. So take a look at this situation where Z causes X, and the same Z causes Y. Please pay attention. Can you see what I'm doing here? Z causes S, and the same Z also causes Y. If I want to draw this structure, I'm actually going to have Z here, and that is I'm going to have an arrow that will go to X. I'm actually going to have another arrow that will go to Y. Can you see that now? This is what I mean. Z is causing both of them. Z causes X, Z causes Y. When Z causes X and Z causes Y, that very Z is a common cause. A common cause can create relationship between X and Y, and when you condition situation on the common cause, it will remove the relationship. So what I'm trying to say now, X and Y will actually be independent upon observing Z. I'm going to give you an example here, and I need you to pay attention. Are you ready to pay attention? Okay. Now, I'm going to give you an example now. I want to start from marketing. Okay. Let's say Z is the marketing campaign that you put in. Okay. S, okay, is the Instagram. Maybe you have the Instagram followers. The Instagram followers. Instagram followers is S. You know, the marketing campaign could bring traffic to your Instagram, right? And let's say Y is sales. Okay, your marketing campaign is Z. This is a campaign. Okay, campaign can actually drive both your Instagram followers and the sales, right? Which means the marketing campaign here is actually the common cause. But you know what? If I have information about the marketing campaign, then I do not expect Instagram followers to give me extra information about reason why I make sales. Does that make sense? That's an example here. So this is an example of a fork, because you're actually going to see something like this in your network, in Bayesian network, in the probabilistic graphical network. Another example here, if I don't want to use, if I want to change this, if I want to go into weather, I want to go into weather right now. Please pay attention. I want to use this in weather. It has a wide range of application. If Z is rain, event of rain, okay, and X, when it rains, people will carry umbrella, right? People carry umbrella, right? They don't want to get wet, right? And rain also causes ground to wet, right? Ground to be wet. Ground, okay, ground wet. Okay. If there's any relationship that occur between carrying umbrella and the ground wet, that relationship is spurious, because that very relationship was caused by a common cause of rain. So if I know it's rain, then people carrying umbrella does not give me extra information about reason why the ground is wet. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to give you another reason before I move away from here. I want to go into medical. Please pay attention. You can apply this across field. I want to talk about infection, like a flu. Okay. Now, if there is, a flu could cause somebody coughing, and the same flu can cause chest pain. Chest pain. Okay. Everybody knows somebody who cough is more likely to have a chest pain, but that very relationship is spurious. That very relationship was actually caused by a common cause of flu. If I know the person has a flu, okay, then cough does not give me extra information about reason why the person have a chest pain. Now, you know what I've demonstrated now? I've already demonstrated conditional independence using chain and using fork. But you know what I want to do next? I want to explain conditional dependence. Dependence. And to use that, I'm actually going to use what we call collider, because something collider, please pay attention. What do I mean by collider? Okay, collider is going to look like a V shape. In your network, when you see something like a V shape, I need you to pay attention. Okay, something is going to come like a V shape. Okay, now this is what happened. If I have something like this, give me 1 second. You know, like I said V, right? This guy, and this guy, and this guy. If this is X, and this is Y, or this is Z. If I have, before doing this, if S tends to Z, and we have an arrow back to Y, please pay attention. This is different from chain. Chain, the arrow go the same way, right? But if you take a look at what I have right now, the arrow go to Z, and Y also go to Z. This is an example of collider. Let me tell you this, collider is very critical in law. Collider is very critical in law. Okay, I'm actually going to show you an example when I'm discussing application under, when I use the Simpson case in California, Los Angeles as an example. But you know what? When I say collider, okay, X, two different events causing one. That's what I mean by collider. Oh, let me call S. Natural intelligence of a student. Natural intelligence. Okay? Natural. Everybody has natural intelligence before you were being taught. Okay? Natural intelligence. And let me call Y. Okay? Study. Okay? Let me call Y. Study. Okay? And let me call Z exam performance. Please pay attention. Let me call Z exam performance. Okay? Do you know that you can pass your exam if you have natural intelligence? You can also pass your exam if you study hard. Does that make sense? It's not only one-way situation here. Now, initially, no relationship between S and Y. Initially, there's no relationship between natural intelligence and studying hard. But when I observe exam performance, the relationship now exists between S and Y. That's what we mean by conditional dependence. Conditional dependence means initially there's no relationship, but upon observing another variable, which is a exam performance here, the relationship now exists. This is very useful in the court of law. I'm still going to explain that when I go there. Okay, I want to move away from there. Now, let me now go theoretical now. Okay? If you take a look at what I have, this is like an example of a common cause. Can you see that? That's a common cause. C cause A, C also cause B. That's a common cause. The common cause we eliminate spurious correlation, even though correlations exist before observing the third variable. Upon observing that, that correlation disappears. That is what this guy is saying here. You know what that guy means? A and B are independent given C. We do not expect A to provide any extra information about B, given that I have observed C. I shaded here because I'm observing C. If I want to find the probability of A, B given C, okay, given that I observe C, I want to look into the relationship A and B have. Okay, if I want to do that mathematically, of course, you know, it's going to be a ratio of ABC divided by probability of C. And what is the probability of ABC? Please pay attention. I'm actually going to get the probability, this guy, from the network. How am I going to get that? Please pay attention. I want to get that from the network. I'm actually going to factorize that to probability of C. You know, C is a parent, right? Then multiply by probability of A given what? A given C. Then multiply by probability of B given C. Take a look at that. Now, this guy, we replace this guy here. When you replace that guy, don't forget in the denominator probability of C, we cancel this guy out. And that's why I'm not going to be left with this guy. You know what that guy means? Whenever A and B are conditionally independent, then that is going to hold. The probability of A, B given C is going to be probability of A given C multiplied by probability of B given C. That's exactly what we mean. I'm actually moving now. Moving to the next one. Take a look at this. Can somebody tell me, is this a chain or a fork or collider? What is that? Is that a chain? I mean this guy here. Is that, you know, I showed you a scenario the other time, right? I showed you different scenarios. Whether a chain, is it a chain? Is it a fork or collider? This is a chain. You know why? A determines C and C determines B. And I told you that's a fall under conditional independence. Okay? Now, based on what I have right now, if I want to find the probability of joints, the probability of ABC, you want to go into the network, A is standing alone. A is the parent, right? It's not depending on anything. But C is depending on A. That's why you see this. And B is depending on C. That's why you see that. Can you see that? Now, that gives me the probability of ABC. If I want to use multivariate distribution, this probability will be complicated. And that's why what we're trying to do here is to factor it out. We factor it out because we're able to use the idea of conditional independent, and the model becomes more simpler. Then I can perform whatever inference I want to perform if I have probability of ABC, and I'm only interested in AB, then I'm going to sum this with respect to the variable I'm not interested in. Now, and that would lead me to this. And you know what I'm going to say? Yeah, you know what this guy is telling me? You know what this guy is telling me? A and B are not independent given nothing. That is what he's telling me. Okay? So A and B are not independent given nothing. Then it means given something, they will be independent. You see? Okay? They depends initially. That's what that guy means. When I've not observed anything, this guy means I've not observed anything. They're gonna be dependent, but after observing something, they will become independent. I'm moving now. I'm moving. There's another one. You know, if you take a look at this, you know, I did not shade C. Means I did not observe C. When I do not observe, okay, that C, I'm expecting this guy and this guy to depend, to have relationship. That is what this guy is saying here. But if I now observe, let's see, now I shaded that now, which means I'm observing C. When I observe C, what is going to happen? They're going to be independent. Look at that. A and B are independent, given that I have observed C. If I don't observe C, they're actually going to depend. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm moving now. Let's talk about this guy. You know what this guy is talking about? This is a situation where this is a fork. You know why it's a fork? Okay, so many events lead to one event. That's a fork. That still fall under conditional independence. If I did not observe this guy, you know it's not shaded, right? This guy is not shaded. This is what I expect. You know what I mean? Okay, so here he's trying to say, okay, they actually, even from day one, you can see here, A and B. Is there any arrow between them? No. If there's no arrow between them, then we can operate using statistical theory of independence. Do you remember statistical theory of independence? Probability of A intersection B is going to be equal to the product of the marginal probability. Okay, I'm moving, but what if in a situation where I observe C? Okay, I just wanted to see, okay, where I observe C, okay, that is what I'm actually going to have. But you know, I want to make it practical. I want to go practical now. I give you a network like this, and I want you to see the arrow in the network. Rain causes grass to wet, and rain also causes your sprinkler. You know, if there's no rain in the summer, right, your sprinkler will be on, right? So rain determines that. And whether, you know, rain and sprinkler will determine grass wet. Does that make sense? That's why you see the arrow now. Okay, this guy, sprinkler, S, arrow represent rain. In exam, you can just, instead of you to write the whole thing, you can just let an alphabet represent that for simplicity. And G represent grass. And maybe based on this network, I ask you to find the joint probability. The joint probability is the probability of everything, probability of all variables in the architecture. You know what am I going to do? Which one is the parent here? Rain. Rain doesn't depend on anything. Do you see any arrow to rain? No. That's why you see this guy. Can you see that? Now I'm going to go to sprinkler. Sprinkler depend on rain, right? If you look at the arrow. Then the grass will depend on both rain and sprinkler. Now, this is a factorized form. You know, the probabilistic graphical model split complicated multivariate probability distribution into simpler form. Look at that. Where we're actually using the idea of conditional independent. So the probability of X now, this guy S, is probability of everything. The formula is going to be in this form, where I'm actually considering the products of the probability of S given the parent of X. Is there any question on this page? Is there any question on this page, whether in person or online? You're good, right? Okay, I'm moving. Do you know, based on this, I can now perform statistical inference. Now, based on the fact that I know this, you know what this guy is telling me? The probability of everything will happen. The sprinkler is going to be on, the rain is going to fall, the grass is going to be wet. That's what I have. But I may not be interested in that based on this. I may be interested in the probability that the grass is going to be wet only. What am I going to do? I'm actually going to come here. I will sum this over the other variable I'm not interested in. What am I interested in? I'm interested in the grass wet. Then I'm going to sum over the variable I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in rain. I'm not interested in sprinkler. Please pay attention. If you don't understand, ask me question. From the joint probability now, I want to figure out probability associated with a particular variable. So which means I'm actually going to sum out the product over the variable I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in rain. I'm not interested in sprinkler. So that is what this guy is trying to say here. I'm only interested in grass wet. And of course, this guy is this guy that I got, the factorized form that I got from the model, from the network. All I'm just going to do is to sum that with respect to the variable I'm not interested in. But you know what? At time my inference may be, I want to find what is the probability that the grass is going to be wet given rain. I can figure out that how. Okay? If I want to figure that out, okay, then I'm actually need this. I need to sum that. Of course, I know I want to sum the probability of sprinkler on grass is wet given rain. I will sum that over the variable I'm not interested in. I'm not interested in sprinkler. And of course, I'm actually going to have this. Okay? So this is very, very useful here. I want to go to more example. Please pay attention. What are you seeing right now? Right now, I'm actually seeing this is a Bayesian network for medical diagnosis of COVID-19. The probabilistic graphical model is an effective tool for classification problem. Based on the domain knowledge, maybe I want to develop a custom model. I want to be able to trace COVID-19 to some sources. Here, I'm having different kind of disease that are related. Okay. What if in a situation where in exam I gave you this and I asked you to write the probability of the joint? This is looking complicated. What am I seeing here? Okay, influenza A 2009 determines influenza B. Influenza B determines respiratory virus, and that determines COVID-19. And for what I'm seeing, it is not only that part that I'm actually going to get a COVID-19. I can also get from here all the way to influenza B and go, and end up in a regular ward. Or let me see other way to get to COVID-19. This way, I can get to COVID-19. I can go from here to COVID-19 directly. I can go indirectly, initially coming from here to this virus up to COVID-19. I can also go from platelet to COVID-19. Several sources. How do I get this? From domain knowledge, from clinical experts that have looked at they understand relationship. But let me tell you this, even without clinical experts, statistically, I can learn this graphical structure from data. I'm going to say that again. Without relying on domain knowledge, I can also learn this from data. Okay? Now, and when somebody have a COVID, okay, so that the person go to regular ward, or it could lead to that, okay? Now, this is an example of a Bayesian network for medical diagnosis of COVID-19. I want to move right now. This is another one for medical diagnosis of lung disease. I want you to pay attention now. Oh my God, when somebody smokes, possibility of lung disease. And can somebody tell me here, this is looking like what? That's looking like a common cause that we just talked about. Lung disease leads to shortness of breath. Lung disease leads to chest pain. Lung disease can also lead to cough. Okay? This is a situation where you have a common cause. Okay? Now, take a look at this guy as well. Take a look at this. Okay? A cold can lead to cough. A cold can lead to fever. Okay? This is an example of a Bayesian network. But there's a table here that we call conditional table. Maybe you get that more from your data. Okay, 20% of people in your data smoke, and 80% do not smoke. Okay, these are conditional probability table associated with each node. But I'm still coming back to that. I quickly want to move. I want to go to supply chain. You know, with statistical machine learning, I can park in everybody's backyard, whether in medical field or in weather prediction or in supply chain. Do you know what I'm saying here? A lot of things apply suppliers. I got supplier 1, 2, 3. Okay, global disruption and local disruption affects all the suppliers. I just wanted to see that. Okay, the global disruption is economic collapse that could affect everybody, all suppliers. And not only that, the local disruption could also affect the suppliers. But there are different kind of local disruption: labor strike, flood, fire, tsunami, earthquake, and tornado can actually affect suppliers. But different kind of that can affect different kind of suppliers. So when you take a look at what I have, okay, if I actually want to talk about supplier 1, okay, of course, I can, or supplier 2 or supplier 3, of course, I can actually use the idea of probabilistic graphical model because it's a network right now. I want to move from this to criminal justice system. I need you to pay attention. I'm assuming we're in a court of law right now. You know, we have 5 crime variables: juvenile felony and juvenile misdemeanor. If you take a look at this one, this happens when somebody is a child, right? Might be the best of my knowledge. Can you see that? And that now determines the prior convictions that may influence that person committing an offense when becoming adults. Okay, juvenile contribute to that. Whether juvenile felony or that also contribute to that. And not only that, this also contribute to the type of crime. And why all these now contribute to rise and divide. What do I mean by rise and divide? I need you to pay attention. The rise and divide is the likelihood of a person committing an offense again. This person is already, the court has already verified beyond every reasonable doubt that he committed the offense, and they want to take a decision. Okay, there are some things that will help the judge in taking decision about bail or parole or something or sentencing. They don't just even when somebody is found guilty, they don't sentence the person immediately. They're actually going to consider some factors. What is the probability that if you reduce the sentence, this guy is not going to reoffend again? That's what we call res and divide. Okay. Now, if you take a look at what I have right now, we can use the idea of Bayesian network to do that. Now, when you take a look at this, do you know that if I look at the relationship between this and the joint that, let's pay attention. I want to look at the relationship between that and the joint, the 2 felony. I'm expecting them to be independent after observing 1. Which one is most correct? After observing this. After observing the prior conviction and the type of crime, I do not expect the early crime to make a prediction about whether a person is going to reoffend or not. Does that make sense? That's what we mean by or joint conditional independence. Joint conditional independence. If I want to write that statistically, I'm actually going to write, let me say this guy is F. Let me call this guy M. Give me 1 second. I think I'm going to, let me call this guy F. I call this guy M. Okay, and cause this guy prior conviction, maybe P, and cause this guy T, and cause this guy R. Okay, if I want to look at the relationship between joint of this and this, I'm actually going to say FM. Okay, please pay attention. Okay, is independent of this given the combination given the combination of P and T. Does that make sense? That's exactly what I mean here. The FM, I don't expect the juvenile felony and the juvenile misdemeanor to actually give me extra information about whether a person is going to reoffend or not, given that I've already observed the prior conviction and the type of crime. That's exactly what I mean. If I want to write the joints, if I want to find the joint of all of this, if I want to do it, this one stand alone, the probability of that times probability of this guy given that and that, multiplied by probability of this guy given that and that, then multiplied by probability of this guy given that and that, which is what I'm actually having here. Please pay attention. This is the first one. Can you see that? Followed by this one, followed by that one, followed by that one. They're going to multiply themselves. I want to move right now to celebrate a case in Los Angeles, 1994. Okay, 1994. Has anybody heard about O.J. Simpson? Okay, O.J. Simpson was tried. That was a celebrated case in the United States, 1994, in Los Angeles, California. Okay, O.J. Simpson was a well-known American footballer. He later became an NBC sports analyst. And he had issue with his wife, because of the domestic abuse. Okay, history of domestic abuse. Nicole Brown was the wife. The wife was found murdered, in his home. And a lot of evidences were pointing towards O.J. Simpson. But you know what? In Los Angeles, as at that time, a particular race in Los Angeles believed that it was LAPD that framed Simpson up. Okay, now let me tell you this. I said something the other time. Collider is very, very critical in law. Collider, I talked about collider the other time, situation where S causes Z. Please pay attention. Okay, and Y also causes Z. We're actually going to have collider. Collider in the sense that if O.J. Simpson is guilty, if O.J. Simpson actually killed his wife, okay, if Simpson killed Brown, okay, there is possibility we're actually going to see a blood stain, a glove stained with blood in the crime scene. If LAPD also frames Simpson, we're also going to see that. So if X represents event that O.J. Simpson, okay, actually killed the person, and Y represent event that LAPD framed of Simpson, and Z is the evidence. Let me tell you this. Evidence could actually make X and Y. Evidence could make two competing explanations to be dependent. There's possibility evidence will call relationship between guilty and LAPD, frame Simpson. So this is the network. Okay, you can see you're going to start from the fact that Simpson was abusive, because that was why it was alleged. Because the woman actually faced series of she had an abusive relationship. Okay. As at the time she was no longer married with Simpson. Okay. So here, it started from here, go to Simpson kill Brown. Okay. And when Simpson was abusive, or Simpson usually beats Brown. And another thing is, when Simpson actually killed Brown, okay, we're actually going to have, this will be the evidence that we're going to find, the bloody that, all of that, I just wanted to say that, okay. So those are the evidence, okay. And it was also alleged that it is Godman that actually killed Brown, because when Brown divorced Simpson, she had a new boyfriend, and they believed the boyfriend was into drug. Okay, a lot of things, a lot of things. That's why you see, when Brown Godman killed, this is drug related, because it is not only Brown that was killed, even the new boyfriend was also killed. Okay, so because they are killed, the defense counsel wanted to change the narrative, from the fact that somebody was killed, because he was trying to belittle the evidence, to say that fewer, it's only little percentage of those the husband that abuse wife that normally end up killing them. Okay, using a prior, using just a likelihood, a frequency statistics, instead of going by Asia. But this is actually the network. Okay, let's talk about it. Weather prediction. Okay, how am I going to know? When you listen to news, they're going to say, "Oh, there's possibility of rain tomorrow." How do they know about that? Okay, humidity at 9 a.m. determine humidity at 3 p.m. and humidity will determine, if you have high humidity at 9 a.m., there's possibility you're going to have high humidity at 3 p.m., and there's possibility that increases the chance of rain tomorrow. What also determines the chance of rain is the wind speed. If you take a look at what I have here, okay, humidity is high in the morning, 60-something% of the time, when it's greater than 60. And less than 60, 30-something% of the time. That's a conditional table. And this guy here, because humidity at 3 p.m. depends on humidity at 9 a.m., I'm actually going to have a table that is going to have a fossil where I will consider a possibility. Okay, why do I have this guy? Why do I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Okay, why do I have 12 cells? Okay, because if you take a look at this is 3, this is 4. What is 3 times 4? And this lead to this. Then I'm actually going to have 12 cells. Okay, all of that from data. Okay, now in my next class, I'm actually going to walk you through, we're going to solve a problem here. Okay, on this one, we're going to solve a problem in my next class. Then all of this is in my next class. But before my next class, I want to dwell more on this weather prediction. If you want to, if you take a look at this structure, we use an expert in meteorological station. The expert that understand weather, okay, based on the domain knowledge, we're actually going to draw this network, okay? And based on the data that we have, this is a binary. We believe that humidity at 9 a.m. could be high or low. What percentage of time is going to be high in the morning? That is 69-point-something%. What percentage of time is going to be low in the morning? That is that, based on the data that we have. Now, because humidity at 3 p.m. depends on the humidity at 9 a.m., I'm actually going to have 2 by 2, because this is 2 levels, and this is also 2 levels. Then I'm going to be 2 times, so that's going to be 4. I can talk about when humidity, humidity is low, what percentage of time. Humidity is low in the morning, also low in the afternoon, 92-point-something% of the time. Please pay attention. Okay, you know what this guy is saying? The percentage of the time, humidity is going to low in the afternoon, is also going to low in the morning, also going to low in the afternoon. And this is going to low in the morning, and it's going to be high in the afternoon. Yeah, it's going to be high in the morning, it's going to be low in the afternoon. So take a look at that. Okay, so these are very, very useful. Probabilistic graphical model, has a wide range of application. But you know what? Like I said, this is actually all of this are in my next lecture. Okay, I'm actually going to walk you through computation in my next lecture. That's what I got for you today. Is there any question? Make sure you all stay safe and have a lovely day. Bye for now. Stay safe. Yeah. Because you can see that. Don't get it. Are you? Or you thought you want to turn on soon. Yep. There's something. Yep. That's it.
Some guy had like a whole packet.
That's crazy.
I think it's one fixing between them two.
Oh, fucked up my bad. I got some pets. They're overpriced pencils. How many pages are those? Well, I always use it. I like using it. Then again, I like right now. I have to use right now. How to do
The last row. I went through it.